Hello students, I am Shahnaz and today I will start 9 Science chapter number 14, that is natural resources. You know students that life is possible only on earth. That is, we can say earth is the only planet on which life is possible, and this possibility of life on earth is due to the natural resources available on this planet. Now, in this chapter, we will study that what are these natural resources and how they are helpful to us, and how the site. And in this chapter, mainly we will study about air, water, soil, and pollution of air, water, soil. And the main and important thing which we will study in this chapter is biogeochemical cycles. Now, these biogeochemical cycles consist of nitrogen cycle, water cycle, oxygen cycle, and carbon cycle. First, we will study what are the natural resources present on earth. As I said, air, water, soil, minerals, and living organism. These are the natural resources on earth. We know that earth consists of three layers. That is lithosphere, that is the solid part of earth. The outer crust of the earth is called lithosphere. Litho means rock, and sphere, the sphere which is made up of rock, is lithosphere. The second next sphere is hydrosphere. Hydro means water, so the part of earth which occupies water is hydrosphere. And the layer of air around the earth is atmosphere. Now, the living organisms are found where the atmosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere, all these three spheres interact with each other. In the figure, you can see the plant is grown where all the three spheres interact. It means biosphere is the place on the earth where there is interaction of all these three spheres, and life is possible on the earth just due to this biosphere. Biosphere has mainly two components, that is biotic components and abiotic components. Now, all the living beings present on the earth constitute biotic components of biosphere, and all the non-living things, that is air, water, soil, these are all non-living things which are present on the earth, and they constitute abiotic component. Now, in this chapter, we will study all these abiotic components in detail. Now, the first one, that is air. We all know that air is the mixture of gases such as nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, water, argon. Air is the mixture of all these gases. Uh, and major part of air is nitrogen. That is almost 78% of air is nitrogen, 21% of air is oxygen, and 0.04% of air is carbon dioxide, and the remaining part is the mixture of other gases. Other gases are present in very small proportion. Now, we all know that oxygen is very important for life. Why? Because we breathe in oxygen. Oxygen break down glucose and provide us energy. Okay, the result is, in result it release carbon dioxide. Now, burning of fuels also use oxygen and release carbon dioxide. It means respiration and burning both use oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. And during photosynthesis, plants take in carbon dioxide, prepare food, and give out oxygen. So, this process helps to maintain oxygen carbon dioxide balance in nature. Oxygen is very essential for all living beings for breathing. Plants as well as animals breathe in oxygen for respiration, and carbon dioxide is utilized by plants to prepare food in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. So, animals are giving out carbon dioxide, whereas plants are taking in carbon dioxide, and in return plants are giving out oxygen and animals are taking in oxygen. It means this cycle is the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide, the level of oxygen and carbon dioxide in atmosphere is always maintained. Now, what is the role of atmosphere? Actually, the role of atmosphere uh, in climate control. Actually, atmosphere covers the earth like a blanket. Atmosphere is nothing but a layer of air around earth. Now you know that air is a bad conductor of heat. So during daytime, in presence of sun, it prevents the sudden increase in the temperature, and this atmosphere also traps some heat, and so at night when the in absence of sun, it slows down the escape of heat, and so it keeps the average temperature of earth fairly steady during day and throughout the year. Now on other planets like moon and Venus, life is not possible. Why? Because there is no atmosphere. So our atmosphere trap the heat and keep the night warm, and during daytime it does not allow all the heat to reach us, and so during daytime also the temperature is bearable, so we can survive in this range of temperature. That range is maintained by our atmosphere. But in moon and Venus, there is no atmosphere, so during daytime the temperature is almost 110 degrees Celsius, whereas at night the temperature goes down up to minus 190 degrees Celsius, and in this range of temperature survival of living being is not possible. We cannot bear sudden drastic change in temperature. So atmosphere makes the earth suitable for life by maintaining the temperature. Movement of air, that is wind. Now we all know that sometime we feel cool breeze and it brings relief to us, or sometime after a very hot summer suddenly clouds come and rainfall. So how this change in the weather takes place? Actually, change in the weather depends upon the movement of air. When air gets heated, it rises up and produces low pressure, and cool air moves in to take its place. The movement of air causes wind. Now, I think in 7th standard you all have studied about sea breeze and land breeze. Now, there are two pictures. The first picture, that is during daytime. See, we all know that land and water does not heat in the same way. Land heats up faster and cool down faster, whereas water heats up slowly and cool down slowly. So this on entire earth there is uneven heating due to sun. This uneven heating of land and water causes wind. Now how it takes place, that I will explain you. Now during daytime, when in presence of sun, when land gets heated up faster compared to water, right? So what will happen during daytime? The air above the land becomes warmer compared to the air above water. So the red arrow shows that warm air rises up, and as warm air rises up, naturally cool air will takes its place. So during daytime, you will feel sea breeze, wind coming from the sea to land. Now in the night time, exactly reverse phenomena takes place. That is, as I told you that lands heats up faster and cool down faster, and in the same way water heats up slowly and cool down slowly. So during night the land will cool down very fast, but water is still warmer. So obviously the air above the water is also warmer, and so in the night time picture you can see the warm air will rises up, and as warm air will rise up, cool air will take its place, and so during night we experience land breeze, that is breeze coming from land to sea. So in this way movement of air occurs. That is, we can say that in this way winds um wind occur, movement of air, that is wind occurs, and along with this wind many a time it brings cloud and we experience rain. Now let us see how clouds are formed and brings us rain. We know that 3/4 of 70% of earth is covered with water. So when water bodies are heated during day, a large amount of water evaporates and water vapor rises up. Now the contribution of water vapor is also given by living beings, and animals and human beings during respiration give out some amount of water vapor. In the same way, plants also give out water vapor during transpiration is the process in which excess water is given out by plants through stomata. This water also evaporates and give its contribution in formation of water vapor. Now as the water converts into vapor, it rises up. Now as water rises, it cools and condenses to form tiny drops of water. Now this actually takes place because the dust particles are present in the air. So when this water vapor along with the air rises up, this vapor cool down and it condenses on the dust particles which are present in air. So these dust particles actually act as nucleus for these water drops. Now once the water droplets are formed, they grow bigger by the condensation of these water droplets. Now when drops have grown bigger and heavy, they form a big cloud, and when the cloud becomes very heavy, it comes down in the form of rain, and in some places it also comes down in the form of snow or hail. Now when the air with a very high content of water vapor moves from the region of high pressure to the region of low pressure, or um, then the clouds are moved from one place to another place. You must have heard rainfall pattern. Rainfall patterns are decided by prevailing wind pattern. In large part of India, rains are mostly brought by the southwest or northeast monsoon. We have also heard weather reports that say depressions in Bay of Bengal have caused rain in some area. Depression means low pressure. So wherever low pressure is created, the clouds or the air from high pressure moves towards the region of low pressure, and if that air contain large amount of water vapor, then in the area of low pressure rain is experienced. So in this way rain is received by us. What is pollution? The increase in the content of harmful substances is known as pollution, or in other words we can say increase in the content of undesirable substances or removal of desirable substances is known as pollution. Now here we will study about air pollution. So the definition of air pollution is the increase in the content of harmful substances in air is called air pollution. Now we know that air is made up of nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide and other gases. But the amount of or the proportion of all these gases are fixed. If this proportion is changed or some the quantity of one gas increases very high, then it pollutes the air. Now what causes air pollution, that we will see. The burning. The major cause of air pollution is burning of fossil fuel. What is fossil fuel? Coal and petroleum. Coal and petroleum are fossil fuel. Now why this cause air pollution? Because burning of fossil fuel emits nitrogen and sulfur in air. It increases the amount of nitrogen and sulfur in air. Now when this fuel burn, it releases oxides of sulfur and oxides of nitrogen, that is sulfur oxide and nitrogen oxide in air. Now this oxide dissolve in rain, and it becomes sulfuric acid and nitric acid. And when this rain, sorry, sulfuric acid and nitric acid, when this take part in the formation of cloud, then the rain which falls, it causes acid rain, or it is called acid rain. So burning of fuel increases as burning of fuel causes acid rain. One more thing, burning of fossil fuel releases carbon particles which reduces visibility. The vision become blur because of presence of carbon particle in air. Now excessive burning also produce carbon dioxide gas, which is again very harmful, as you know that 0.04% of air um, const, is carbon dioxide. But if the amount of carbon dioxide in air increases, then it is harmful. And sometime incomplete combustion produces carbon monoxide gas, which is again very dangerous for us. Why it is dangerous, you know? Because carbon monoxide is very reactive gas. It is even more reactive than oxygen. So if we breathe carbon monoxide gas, our hemoglobin, instead of carrying oxygen, it will carry carbon monoxide in our body. And once the carbon monoxide gas is carried in our body, it will stop all the cellular activities in our body, and slowly our cells will die. And it is very harmful. Even excessive breathing of carbon monoxide gas may cause death of a person. Now, as I said, burning of fossil fuel also releases unburned carbon particles which reduce visibility. Now during cold weather, along with condensed water, it forms smog. Now we all know that what is fog. Fog you all have heard. Fog is actually, you know, condensed water, water vapor near the ground. That is fog. But smoke is something which is mixture of fog and dust particles. Or you can say smog is the mixture of combination of pollution and fog. Right. So if more amount of smog is present on the earth, it is again very harmful. In some metro cities like Delhi, there are major problem caused because of smog during winter season. Visibility is so less that so many accident occurs, and many a time flights has to be cancelled because of this smog. Now, regular breathing of air containing these harmful substances causes allergies, cancers, heart disease, etc. So, it is very important to maintain the quality of air on earth. Otherwise, what will happen? A day will come when it will be compulsory for everyone to carry oxygen cylinder, because the air which is present on the earth will not be suitable for breathing. If we will continue our activities of burning uh, and industrialization, and all these activities increases air pollution. See, nowadays you must have seen there is a very much increase in the usage of vehicle. So continuously carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide is emitted in air, which causes pollution. The other activities are industrialization. Many industries are established in big cities, and these industries are continuously emitting very harmful gases in air. Actually, as per government rule, they have to filter the harmful substances from this smoke, and then they have to release. But who cares, they just release it directly in the air, which is again very harmful for us. Now one more thing is deforestation. Now because of deforestation, large forests are uh, cut down, and cities and industries are established. Actually trees purify air, but the means of purification only we have removed from the earth. So Instead of adding good things in air and removing bad things, we are actually adding all pollutants and bad things in the air, and we are removing trees which actually purifies air. So because of our insane activities, day by day the quality of air is decreasing. Water is the wonderful liquid which is present on earth. Nowadays, actually scientists are searching whether water is present on other planets or not. But we know that a very large area of earth's surface is covered with water. Now water which is present on earth is of two types, that is fresh water and salty water, or you can say saline water. Now the oceans and seas consist of saline water which is not useful for drinking, and fresh water is found in rivers, lakes, ponds, and uh, fresh water is also found on ice caps, that is the poles which are on the two poles which are covered with snow. Snow is actually frozen fresh water, and fresh water is also available as groundwater. So large portion of earth is actually covered with water. Now we know that water is essential for each and every living thing present on earth, whether it is plants, animals, human beings, insects, aquatic animals, whatever living beings present on the earth cannot live without water. First of all the cellular processes which are taking place in our body are in liquid medium, that is in water medium. Solid particles cannot travel in our body. It is everything is traveling inside our, or everything is transported inside our body is in the liquid form. All the reactions that takes place within our body and within the cell occur between the substances that are dissolved in water. So water is needed by living organisms because all the life process and cellular activities need water. So all organisms need water to survive. The amount of water and other factors like temperature and nature of soil decides the diversity of species and the number of individual of each species in an area. In short, I will tell you that the amount of water is directly proportional to the amount of, or you can say the number of species found in that particular area. For example, if we take Rajasthan, Rajasthan is the place where the availability of water is very less, and so the number of trees and plants and the different variety of trees and plants are uh, found in Rajasthan are very less. Only very few like cactus and date palm are found in Rajasthan because the availability of water is very less. In the same way, survival of animals is also very less in Rajasthan because there is less availability of water, right? So if water is available in more amount, then number of species and individuals found in that particular area is more. If water is available in less amount, so the number of species or number of individuals found in that area will be less. So we can say that amount of water decides the diversity of species in that particular area. Now the water which is available on earth is actually fresh, but human activities has polluted this water too. So what is water pollution? The increase in the content of harmful substances in water is called water pollution. Water pollution is caused by addition of harmful substances like fertilizers and pesticides from farms, sewage from towns, cities and factories, harmful chemicals from factories, disease causing microorganism, change in the amount of oxygen dissolved in water, or change in the temperature of water. So these are the substances, or these are the activities which pollutes water. You must have seen that the drainage water from the entire city is released in water, which pollutes it. Same way, the waste water from the factories and industries is also released in rivers and water bodies without treating it. Right, so it this activities pollutes river water and whatever water bodies available around or inside the city. Now, excessive use of fertilizers and pesticides uh, pollutes the groundwater. It also pollutes the water bodies, but it pollutes the groundwater. How? You know, when fertilizers and pesticides are excessively used slowly along with rainwater, it goes deep inside the soil, and ultimately it will mix with the groundwater and pollutes the groundwater. Many a time hospitals release dirty water in the water bodies, which consist of many germs. So it pollutes the water of the water bodies. Now, many time oil spilling takes place in sea, and because of that a layer of oil is formed on the surface of sea, which cut down the contact of atmosphere with water, and so it reduces the amount of oxygen dissolved in water, and so this is very harmful for aquatic animals. Then we throw garbage in water, and especially this plastic waste is thrown in water, which makes a layer on the surface of water, and it also reduces the amount of oxygen dissolved in water. And as the amount of oxygen dissolved in water reduces, it is very harmful for aquatic plants and animals. Soil. Soil is an important resource that decides the diversity of life in an area or in a particular area. Now we know that lithosphere, that is earth crust, it consists of minerals, and these minerals are actually embedded inside the rock. Now these minerals are supplied to the life forms, but these minerals will not be available to organism if the minerals are bound up in the huge rocks. Right, minerals are present inside the rock, but how these minerals are made available to the living organisms? So first we'll see how soil is formed. Soil is formed by the breaking down of rocks on the surface of earth by physical, chemical and biological processes. The sun heats the rock during the day, and the rocks expand. At at night the rock cool and contract. This causes the rocks to crack and break into smaller pieces. Now see, heating and cooling of rock continuously takes place during day and night, but this heating takes place only on the surface. So there is actually, you can see there is uneven heating of rock. The surface of the rock will heat up uh, in more and compared to the inner part of rock. So because of this uneven heating and cooling, the cracks are developed on the rocks. Water enter the cracks in the rock, and when water freeze, it expand and cause the cracks in the rock to widen and break into smaller pieces. The flowing water carries the rock pieces. These pieces rub against each other and become smaller and smaller particles. Strong wind also breaks rocks into smaller pieces and carries it from one place to another. The root of large trees grow into the cracks in rocks and break it into smaller pieces. Lichens which grow on the rock produce some substances which cause the rock surface to powder and become soil. Lichens are actually living organisms which grow where the pollution is very less. So ultimately the formation of soil takes place because of sunlight, water, wind and living organism. All these resources together uh, help to form soil from the rock. And you know, it takes thousands of years for soil formation. Now the parent rock from which the soil is made is actually very far away from the place where soil is actually found, right? Because it takes so many years for the formation of soil. The composition of soil. Soil is the mixture of rock particle, decayed organism called humus, living organisms, minerals, air and water. And the amount of minerals, humus, air and water are the factors which decides the biodiversity in that area. Now the area where the quality of soil is good, in that area obviously the amount of biodiversity, or you can say amount of or number of species will be more. And the place where the quality of soil is not good for plantation, in that place the number of species will be less. Now type of soil, actually the type of soil is decided by the average size of the particles found in it. So if the particles of soil are large, then we call it as sand. And where in sandy area there is very less plantation possible, and so in such area less species are found. Now the quality of soil is decided by the amount of humus present and the microorganisms found in it. And the places where the soil quality is good, there the variety of organisms found are more. The quality of soil is also decided by the amount of minerals present in it. If more minerals are present in the soil, then that soil is good. And the depth of the soil also decides the quality of soil. The quality of topsoil is very important, because the quality of topsoil is important factor that decides biodiversity in that area, because more humus is present in topsoil only compared to the inner part of the soil. Now soil plays a very major role in deciding the biodiversity present in any area. Now, how soil pollution is caused? First of all, what is soil pollution? Removal of useful components from soil and addition of other harmful substances in soil kill the diversity of organisms that live in it, and this is called soil pollution. In short, we can say addition of harmful substances which affect the fertility of soil and kills the diversity of organisms living in it is called soil pollution. Soil pollution is caused by excessive use of fertilizers and pesticides. It kills the organisms like earthworm and bacteria, which makes the soil rich in humus. The removal of useful components and addition of other harmful substances reduces the fertility of soil and cause soil pollution. Soil erosion is actually carrying away of topsoil by wind and water. It causes soil erosion. Now large scale deforestation also causes soil erosion. As we know that roots of plant hold the soil particles, and it prevent the topsoil from carrying away by wind and water. But if there is no plantation, if the land is barren, then obviously the topsoil will be carried away by wind and fast flowing water, and it will cause soil erosion. So how soil erosion can be reduced? The soil erosion can be reduced or prevent by vegetative cover, that is by growing more and more plants, that is by afforestation, by constructing dam or you can say bund, so that the flow of water can be controlled. And it can also be prevented by step farming and terrace farming. On if the water is flowing with a very high speed from the slope of hill, then top layer of soil will be washed away. So it can be prevented by terrace farming as well as step farming. Uh, In the picture you can see uh, the sides of this water body is constructed, and so it cannot wash away the soil from its bank or its sides. And in another figure you can see step farming is done so that it reduces the flow of water and we can prevent soil erosion.